Another night of severe weather for the upper Midwest and for the mid-Atlantic states. Good morning, welcome to Weather Center. I'm Kim Perez. We're going to talk about some severe weather out there and get to your forecast too. Let's talk about where it's happening though right now, and it's happening around Minneapolis and maybe later on into Chicago. Now, Minneapolis, boy, what a night for you. We had thunderstorms move through several times, putting down heavy rainfall, and actually right there at the airport, winds gusted around 65 miles per hour. So very, very gusty winds with these thunderstorms and putting power lines down, trees down in the area. Actually had funnel clouds reported in the region. Very active night, plus heavy rainfall. In some cases, Doppler estimates 6 to 7 inches in Minnesota tonight. Tremendous amounts of rainfall. Also here in the Northeast earlier with a few thunderstorms. And the Ohio Valley. In Ohio, actually, and it's right along our front that we're seeing all this active weather tonight. And you can kind of pick out where it is. I mean, look at the blow up right here. And most of this is actually the cirrus blow off from the thunderstorms that have been redeveloping over this area, and also here through Michigan and into Ohio, where eastern Ohio you've definitely had your fair share of thunderstorms tonight. Seems like they just keep moving over the same area too, and that's why we have flash flood watches in effect for eastern Ohio. And it looks like it's just along Interstate 70, I believe that is, right through eastern Ohio. So be careful on the roads tonight, even around Minneapolis, because there's probably a lot of trees and power lines down. You want to avoid that area if at all possible until you get some sunlight out there and you're able to see a little bit better for sure. In the Northeast, still a few thunderstorms here even into Maine tonight, and we had some problems with some heavier rain earlier this evening, so we have flash flood watches out for much of this area, meaning the potential is there that with any additional rainfall, you're going to get some flooding out of this. We have several flood warnings out for New England and also for Ohio and in West Virginia tonight, meaning flooding is going on right now. All right, so the areas there, in the green especially, watch out. You come across a road that has flooding, it's flooded, or water running over it or whatever, go find a different way to go. Okay, don't take that chance. Your car gets swept away very easily, very dangerous. Now here's our water vapor loop looking at moisture in the mid-upper levels of the atmosphere. And I just wanted to show you this feature here. You can see some of the milkier color now coming into parts of the Gulf Coast. And that's just indicating more moisture. So we're starting to really moisten up the atmosphere through the mid-levels now, where at the surface, dew points are already in the mid-70s. And it's all complements of the remnants of our tropical disturbance here in the Gulf of Mexico. And if you look here real closely, you can actually see where some of the higher cloud tops, the cirrus cloud tops anyway, are moving this way, okay? We have an upper level ridge over the area. And if you know anything about tropical weather, an upper level ridge really is conducive to some sort of tropical development. But you have to have something at the surface going on first. And right now we're just really not showing any kind of an organized area of convection. Earlier we had a big blow up, but that has diminished. And we have an upper level low just off to the west. So that's kind of keeping things from developing here too. There's no surface low. Okay, I have surface trough, but no surface low. So we think all this will do is come on shore, this moisture, and put down some rainfall into southern Louisiana. But if something should change, if we start to see an area of thunderstorms persisting over a couple of, over 12 to 24 hours, we might be concerned here. But at this moment, we do not think that is going to happen. Okay, even a few afternoon thunderstorms popped up here in Georgia and the Carolinas and Florida, where we had some heavy rain move through, even Miami earlier today. Here's that threat tonight, mainly for tomorrow morning here and towards tomorrow afternoon, where temperatures actually were kept down a little bit at 86 around New Orleans, although we had several record highs just off to the west. Dodge City 108, Amarillo tying the record 107. Those temperatures were below, or actually well above the average. It's for much of the eastern half of the country. Now keep that in mind. Tomorrow we're probably expecting some hot weather again, so wear lightweight, light colored clothing, exercise in the morning or late evening, and use the sunscreen. All right. The West Coast, use the sunscreen too. There's not going to be much cloud cover out there tomorrow for San Francisco and LA. It's going to be beautiful with temperatures in the 50s tomorrow morning. 70s into the Ohio Valley. Very mild tomorrow morning. Our front somewhat stalling. It's not really moving very far. So guess what? The severe weather threat probably in the same areas, maybe a little farther north tomorrow into the Great Lakes. And that includes you in Detroit, up towards maybe Minneapolis once again. And here comes some of that tropical moisture northward we could see up to an inch of rainfall, but the heaviest rain for sure along our front, and we'll keep you posted on the active flash flood warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings in the area. Stay with us.
The jobs of tomorrow are here, thousands of them, waiting to be filled. But you have to know the fields they're in, and you have to have what it takes to master those fields. Because you can't get the jobs of tomorrow until you get the skills of today.
Start by calling ITT Technical Institute for an informative brochure. Call 1-800-338-4713. 1-800-338-4713. Call now.
I wanted a drafting career where I could draw more than just a good salary. Computers are the future of drafting, and I'm part of it. I trained in computer-aided drafting at ITT Technical Institute. ITT Tech could mean a successful future for you, too.
Call ITT Technical Institute at 1-800-338-4713 for...
And a good Saturday morning. Thanks for tuning in to the Weather Channel. Will Annan, along with Rick Griffin. We've got some major league weather going on this morning from Wisconsin to the state of Ohio, where a report has just come in to us from Frazeysburg, which is about 40 miles east of Columbus, Ohio. They say major flooding has been taking place. The town's underwater. All surrounding roads are closed as of this time, with up to 6 inches of rainfall.
Well, it's been heavy rain overnight, and Interstate 87 south of Plattsburgh, New York is closed because of flooding rain in upstate New York. So we've got a lot of rain. We have severe storms right now in southern Wisconsin, and of course we have the heat, which is widespread. But stay with us because we have some relief from the heat for some of you. Let's talk about the radar first. I believe we're going to go to National Radar. That's our first stop. Let's actually go to the surface map. I tell you what, I'm going to back it up, and actually I'm going to show you the satellite picture first of all. And if we can get it to go in motion, there we go. We can see the signature of storms in Wisconsin. And we'll be watching the storms because they are easing down towards Chicago. Here's the thunderstorm activity in Ohio, and general low pressure in the northeast continues to produce substantial rainfall in upstate New York, Vermont, over into Maine. As I mentioned, one of the interstates, the Northway, is closed south of Plattsburgh right now because of high water. Here's the hot high pressure system in the south. It's back today, although some of you in Louisiana will have cloud-covered skies and less hot conditions because of precipitation as that disturbed area in the Gulf of Mexico moves northward towards you. Well, low pressure, we have one in Wisconsin supporting the big storms and the Bow Echo out here. We'll look at that on radar shortly. Strengthening low pressure in the northeast. You can see the swirl here on the satellite picture, and it's on the north side of the low that the significant rainfall continues. From Moosehead Lake to Portland in the state of Maine, from Lake Winnipesaukee over towards the Adirondack Park region, Lake Champlain area of upstate New York. The closed region of I-87, by the way, is right about in here, just south of Plattsburgh. Orange County, Vermont, flash flood warning. 2 inches of rain during the last several hours have caused some flooding problems in that location in the Green Mountain State. Pittsburgh, no rain for you overnight, but check on these storms in central Ohio. Between Columbus and Cleveland, these are the cells that have produced 6-inch plus rainfalls and have resulted in massive flooding in some locations in central Ohio. Once again, we urge you to remember to do not drive over a road that is covered by water because you simply just don't know how deep the water is. The road may not be there anymore, for that matter, as it may have been washed away. Just a reminder for you on this Saturday morning. 70 in Pittsburgh. Look at New York City. It's muggy, but the humidity will begin to drop later on today, and we do have some cooler weather for you folks tonight. Some better sleeping weather in store for sure. DC 82, very muggy, cooler in Boston. 66, 59 in Caribou, 68 in Burlington, Vermont. The precipitation continues right now in Burlington. Light to moderate rain. Temperatures in the south, warm. It's steamy. 76 Raleigh-Durham, 75 in Miami. It's 80 in Houston and 81 degrees in Dallas, Fort Worth. Record heat from yesterday, same old story. Dodge City, 108. 106 Garden City, and even Bluefield, West Virginia. You tied your record yesterday at a relatively cool 89 as compared to the stuff that developed in the plains. High pressure covers the south. However, we do have a disturbed area of weather in the Gulf of Mexico heading north. Stay with us for Storm Watch. We'll talk about whether there's any possibility of any tropical development with the system in the Gulf. Right now it's just light rain over southern Louisiana. Some big storms though right here. Storms down in Ohio, Detroit, thunderstorms developing near you. Bow Echo here. Watch out. Madison, you're getting hammered now. Milwaukee, you're next in line. Chicago, you could see severe storms this morning as there is a severe thunderstorm watch, and Chicago, you are near the watch box. And the old saying goes, in and near the watch box. Severe storms are possible. Once again, a mesoscale convective complex. Big cluster of storms, in other words, with intense cloud-to-ground lightning. Look out for that. 71 in Chicago, warm, moist air feeding the storms. Cooler in Boise, however, and windy and chilly in Montana. Big storm up north of the border. 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible in Montana today. All right, let's check on the forecast. Back to Will.
Okay, Rick, once again, we'll be following our big storm system this morning and also our complex of heavy weather across Wisconsin. Same thing is going on now in parts of Ohio as well, especially just to the east of Columbus, where many roads are now closed in the region. As you look at that region around just east of Columbus by about 40 miles, especially around Licking County as well, with up to 6 inches of rainfall overnight, big time problems there. Looks like round one of heavy weather is developing right now across the Badger State, just to the north of Chicago. We think it's going to be passing, but the second round may be developing ahead of our front this afternoon, and yet a third round by early morning tomorrow. The deep south is going to be hot, mostly dry. The exception will be Louisiana. And the southwest from Texas all the way to California, dry and blistering heat is going to continue throughout the southern plains for the upcoming afternoon. Here comes by later on this afternoon, a few more showers begin to dance their way northward across Louisiana, maybe some more heavy weather too along our warm front in parts of Wisconsin, and ahead of our cold front, which will now be edging into extreme northwestern Wisconsin. There's New England looking at a little bit of a drier air mass today and cooler conditions too. But overall, as you can see, the best chance of looking at some heavier weather is going to be right through the state of Ohio. We'll take you back towards Chicago a little bit later on. Better chances of hefty stuff later on tonight. The south, mostly hot and dry, and the west, we'll take a look at that. Windy in San Francisco, and again, dry weather in most of that state.
All right, stay with us for TravelWise. It's coming up after your local forecast.
Hey, what's this stuff? I'm not going there! This crummy stuff isn't gonna come with me! No way!
At your Sherwin-Williams store, you'll get the good stuff at great prices during Sure Win Days. Now save 30% on all paints and stains. Save 30% on in-stock wallpaper, brushes, rollers, ladders, and more.
Oh, yeah. Now that's the good stuff.
When only the best will do. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
The more we get together,
by nature,
the happier
dolphins know how to have fun.
Your friends are
By
my
nature,
friends and
man
my
does not.
friends are your friends. The more
We looked at these two realities
the happier
and did something about it. Sea-Doo. Everybody's doing it.
Lots of heavy weather is going on this morning across the lower 48. We'll talk about extensive flooding now going on in parts of the state of Ohio, big time storms in Wisconsin. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But first, tropical weather. Let's see if anything is developing in the Gulf of Mexico or not developing, because during the last couple of days we thought there was going to be a hint of a chance that we could be looking at a depression developing by this time over the Gulf of Mexico and bringing with it some very beneficial rainfall, especially to southeastern and eastern Texas, much of Louisiana, maybe much of the Gulf Coast in general. Well, this thing has really fizzled during the last 24 to 36 hours. Again, if we put this in motion and show you the higher and colder cloud taps, you can see that the real intense convection, the bigger, the stronger thunderstorms, just really aren't around this region anymore. Is there a low-level circulation? Not really. What you do see here spinning around the Gulf of Mexico is a hint of an upper-level high, which is needed for the development if you've got low pressure at the surface. But right now we do not see that. It looks like it's a very poorly organized system, and if anything does benefit from this area, it's probably going to be Louisiana for the upcoming day in the form of some scattered showers and storms. Some places could be looking at an inch or two of rainfall, but for much of the parched state of Texas, very little rainfall is going to be falling here as we see it right now. As you look back into the Bay of Campeche, again, another blob of convection right here. But again, nothing is developing, nothing is imminent. And it looks like as of right now, we've got just a blob of moisture over the Gulf of Mexico, which will sit around for a while and hopefully will help to drench some of the areas around Louisiana, maybe the upper Texas coastline with some beneficial rainfall. But nothing heavy is expected at this time, nothing widespread. And certainly no tropical system is organizing as of this time. But keep your eyes in the region. This is the part of the year, and climatology says during the month of June, watch out around the Gulf of Mexico, the far western Caribbean, and by the early part of July, which is coming up next week, well, we begin to expand our horizons, and we still have to keep our eyes on the Bay of Campeche, the Gulf of Mexico, and now even the areas off the coast of Florida. What's going on there right now? Well, again, you can see the convection in the Gulf of Mexico, barely detectable right now. There's not much going on. Off the coast of Florida, mostly dry conditions here. Even through the Caribbean, unusually quiet at the present time. Even through the islands, looking at some floating clouds going overhead, but not a super band of convection, that is for sure, of thunderstorms, which is going to mar anything here for the upcoming day. So looks like it's going to be quiet, it's going to be sunny, and it's going to be generally rain-free over much of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico as we look at the next 24 to 48 hours. Off the coast of Africa, way too early to start worrying about this part of the world. The Cape Verde season doesn't get going at least for another month or month and a half, because the peak of the hurricane season is really into August and early September. September to the 10th, I believe, is the peak of the hurricane season. We've got a long ways to go. Again, healthy waves come off the coast of Africa, hit the cooler waters, and bang, they just dive just about immediately within several hours after coming off the coast. What about Hurricane Blas? We have been tracking this hurricane, a very intense one a couple of days back, but really beginning to wind down now as it moves away from the coast in the cooler waters. The 2 o'clock advisory, Pacific Daylight Time, 17.8 degrees north, 115.6 degrees west, or about 500 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. Top sustained winds now 90 miles per hour, still westerly bound at 12 miles per hour, and the pressure holding steady there at 977 millibars. This is a look at Blas right now. You can see the eye of the hurricane. Then we begin to lose that eye, and watch what happens to the convection. Basically is really going downhill, which means we have a weakening hurricane at the present time, and it looks like within a couple of days we'll be seeing the end of Blas as it gets down to tropical storm status, and even below that within the next